Thank you. Good evening. Welcome to the Conservation Commission meeting of May 7th, 2025. The Wareham Conservation Commission will hold a meeting under Chapter 131, Section 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, the Town of Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaws, Division 6, and any other applicable laws. All hearings of the Wareham Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act and the Town of Wareham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, Division 6. Although a single decision of the Commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. All matters listed may involve a discussion and possible vote. All right, roll call, please. I'll start. Kwame.
Kwame Body.
Michael Mercier.
Sandy Slavin.
Autumn Wood.
Paula Jean O'Neill.
Scott Sobey.
Jessica Parr.
I declare we have a quorum. And before we start our public hearing, Joseph, congratulations. Am I getting brought up to the court? Yes, congratulations.
I just want to say thank you to everybody on this committee. I came here 2 years ago, and you guys taught me well beyond more than I ever knew. Scott, yourself, Denise, who's sadly not here anymore, you, Sandy, Kwame, Michael, Autumn, Jessica, and you, Paula Jean. All of you guys are great. I wish to maybe be a liaison once I'm fully appointed here, but I appreciate all you did for me, and this is amazing that you guys are still here tonight. This is good.
And for the record, you have resigned from us, and you have now been appointed as a select board member. Thank you very much for your time here.
Thank you for all your time. It was well worth it. All right?
So it would be useful to have you as our liaison since you know what's going on.
I would agree. I would agree.
But-
If Christine wants us around. Let's see here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
So we are down to 6 members, and we will talk about our 7th later on in the meeting. We have a public hearing starting at 6 o'clock. We have a discussion and possible Wareham Agawam Mill Pond Camp. Please come up and talk to us about camp. There was a lot of documentation that went back and forth regarding the pesticides that were being used and whatever. I'm hoping that answered questions, but he's here to really answer questions.
Yeah, and just based on a recommendation from Josh and Christine.
Identify yourself,
I'm
please, for the
sorry,
record.
this is Mike Lenahan, I'm president of CAMP.
Okay,
I was here a few weeks ago, and like I've been for the past 10 years in a row, updating you on the progress on our treatment of our pond. And I thought at that time that the commission had seen the the plan, because we submit a plan every year to you guys, but you hadn't seen it. So obviously there was a few questions. Josh suggested we bring our consultant here to refresh some of the new people that haven't, that are just recently on the commission. So I have Keith Gazelle. He's a regional senior project manager for Solitude, who is the consultant company that we use, and he'll tell you, hopefully you got a chance to see the link for the type of company they are and how big they are. And but I'll turn it over to him, and he's here to answer any questions you may
Pete,
have.
can you spell your last name
Sure,
slowly
it's
for me?
Gazaille.
Thank you.
Just before you get going, I know there was some discussion about the health of the pond and so forth. So I just brought some photos that came from a few of my neighbors to show you how healthy this pond is. And some people that have been here for a while know what it looked like before. It was a pond where you couldn't take your boat out after July 4th, pretty much. Weeds wall to wall, invasive weeds, the type of weeds that DEP encourages people to take care of. Not native, they're invasive, they come from down south, or they even come from Europe and Asia, some of these things. But we've turned it around, and this is what it's like today. If you can just take a peek and see, it's a fully recreational pond.
Okay,
And I'll leave it at that.
I'll
Keith?
start. Kwame, we'll pass it around. Okay, Pete.
Sure. I guess I'm not too familiar with, kind of where you're all at in terms of your, I guess, knowledge with respect to the project, but the project really began in 2015. At that time, both invasive plant species, one being fanwort, the other being variable water milfoil, both not native to the northern U.S., had grown to really occupy all of the water body, really near 100% cover of growth throughout the entirety of Agawam Mill Pond. And so it's a unique site, there's no question, and so as a result of that, we endeavored to design a management program really in concert with the various regulatory agencies. So both DEP, Natural Heritage, and Division of Marine Fisheries were all involved really in the development of the program at that time. And really as a result of that, I'm involved in this type of work across the country, and I can honestly say this is probably one of the most highly scrutinized and probably highly regulated and most monitored programs that I've been involved in because of the dynamics. So there's certainly an anadromous fish run that's of concern, and spawning herring and the like need to be taken into consideration. There are state-listed species immediately downstream of the dam, and so that was a concern of Natural Heritage. And so really what we ended up doing is developing kind of an initial restoration program, and we really took that into 3 phases. Phase 1, and I broke the lake into 3 nearly equal sectors, and really focused management on those sectors on an annual basis for the 3 years, starting with the upgradient most section of the lake. And, as a result of kind of the approved program, there was obviously ongoing monitoring from the perspective of Division of Marine Fisheries, where we monitored, basic water quality parameters, both prior to the herbicide application and then at various intervals following the herbicide application. In addition, from Natural Heritage's perspective, with respect to concentrations of the herbicide, we did a series of herbicide concentration monitoring, really at various points down gradient of the designated herbicide application zone, to monitor concentrations and basically to confirm that concentrations above, Mike, and forgive me, do you remember the concentration beyond 1 part per million?
200,
200.
yeah, with the fluming and 4 people.
No, in terms of the concentration that Natural Heritage kind of did not want us to
like 2.
exceed.
Yeah.
2. And so we did that for the first 3 years. I think the program has been, wildly successful. We have not had impacts to fish and or wildlife as a result of the treatment. And we have been able to document that we haven't had an exceedance of that herbicide threshold from Natural Heritage to migrate downstream. There have been botanical surveys that have done by, Natural Heritage certified botanists to confirm the presence of the rare species downstream. There has not been impact to those species as a result of the program. And so we've really kind of settled into a maintenance phase at this point. I mean, I think unfortunately, given the nature of aquatic invasive plant control, eradication is seldom an achievable goal. And so it's really trying to maintain some long-term reduction in the occurrence of those species to, one, enable native plant habitat to return to those once dominated invasive plant areas, and really to fortify the habitat. And so the program has shrunk to where we're treating really only between, 10 and 20 acres on an annual basis.
Right.
So really very area selective management to, in essence, stamp out those regrowth areas of the non-native plants. And so as a result of that, the management pressure on the system has decreased significantly since we began the program. And we've actually seen significant reestablishment of native plant species in those once invasive dominated areas.
Great, now I'm going to start with Scott.
Are
Your
you
question-
sure, Madam Chair?
I am positive. You will ask the scientific questions.
That's my job.
That's your job.
So you're using two different herbicides,
Correct.
some of them sometimes in tandem, and then in some of the areas you're just using a single herbicide. Is that right?
That is correct. Yep.
Are they both Group 14 herbicides?
No. It's really the flumioxazin, the Flumagard.
Okay, and which group is the other one in? Procella?
Off the top of my head, I don't know.
So would they have two different modes of action?
They do.
Okay.
So Percellacor, the active ingredient is fluoroperoxyfenbenzyl. It is an auxin mimic, similar to triclopyr or a 2,4-D. So it mimics a growth hormone in the plant.
It's an auxin-like compound, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay. So in the label, the EPA label, they talk about risk mitigation for resistance. I'm sure you're familiar with the label,
For
right?
the flumioxazin.
Yeah, the sublabel A,
For flumioxazin.
for flumioxazin.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So they also say that it should only be treated once without a different mode of action compound being used in between.
The same area.
The
Yes.
same area.
Yes,
So over the last 8 or 10 years, has that been done?
yes.
So what other compounds were used then in between the flumioxazins?
None. That has been the primary herbicide.
So isn't that a violation of the EPA label?
No, because we haven't, and I'm not sure that it's any one time per year, I think is the way that the label reads.
I'm not sure it specified a time, but, well, let me ask it a different way. Have you seen any evidence of resistance?
We have not.
Okay. I mean, that answers the question, really.
And so I guess to provide a little bit more background, the state of Massachusetts also goes through a registration process for for all pesticides in the state. So they have a broader ability to pull in academic information, European Union information. And so as a result, and I think based on similar concerns, they do also impose additional restrictions on the use of that particular product. And because we knew that it was, given the flow dynamics in the system, it was probably one of the only products that was going to provide control of the invasive species, we did petition DEP for a waiver on repetitive management. And some of the data that we've had to collect as a result of that approved waiver, I guess is the appropriate terminology, was to document whether or not at these rates in this type of an aquatic setting, whether there would be documented resistance. And so to your question, we have not documented that.
And have you looked for it? I didn't see that in.
We have indeed,
Okay.
yes.
So the next, can you tell me how high does the pH go in the lake at the time of treatment?
I would say on average it ranges between, I would say between 6 and 7.5.
Okay, but it's well below 8.5.
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
All right. I had a number of other questions too. Yeah, so the label also, the sublabel A for flumioxazin also requires that it be used in quiescent or water bodies had a little or no outflow. Would this be a situation that would fall under little or no outflow?
It would be. I think most dam situations, water-controlled water bodies are considered quiescent.
Okay. Well, is there
And
data?
so I guess maybe to help understand, again, in Massachusetts, in addition to the wetlands permit, there also is a specific, site-specific permit with respect to the application of aquatic herbicides. And so DEP, Office of Watershed Management, also reviews the treatment program and approves the use of these products and do a specific review of both the site and potential risks to human health, the environment, and label compliance.
Okay. And I did want to refer to another document that I have. And I noticed that you've done quite a bit of monitoring, post-treatment monitoring. I think that was, as far as I can tell, well done.
Thanks.
And putting those tables together is really very helpful. And I know you're looking for flumioxazin in the environment after the treatment over certain periods of time.
Correct.
But when flumioxazin degrades, it breaks down into 6-amino-7-fluoro-4, et cetera, APF, and THPA, which then apparently have a low leaching potential in the soil, which means that they accumulate over time in the soils, and presumably downstream, assuming semi-quiescent water. I mean, it's going to go somewhere. There's some evaporation, but some of it's going to go down over the dam, right? So I know you monitor for flumioxazin. Do you also monitor for APF and THPA?
We do not.
So you don't know, I mean, this is something maybe we could take up with the state also. So these would be the compounds that would be accumulating in those soils in that environment. So I don't know the best way to approach that. So let me just, when you monitor for flumioxazin, is that done by like a mass spec or GC mass spec or how is that monitoring done
The actual,
for the compound?
it is,
We take samples, I mean, and they're
Right, but he's-
tested at the UMass Aggie lab.
Yes, but that's what I'm asking, how is it tested?
I'd have to get that information from the lab.
So you could,
The only one lab in Massachusetts that can do it. So that's all in conjunction with DEP and the lab, you know?
I'm asking a very technical question.
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering is if we might consider asking for, when you're doing the sampling anyway, if they're doing it by GC mass spec, LC mass spec, however the method is, if they could also look for these breakdown products to see if they're accumulating in that environment.
And would you be sediment accumulation? So it would be,
I would think so, sediment accumulation.
Yeah.
It might be something you're interested in anyway.
Yeah, I think we would certainly.
And if they're, like I say, if they're doing it by LC mass spec or GC mass spec, it's a small matter just to look for a couple of other peaks. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't be any additional sampling work, anything like that.
Yeah, no, I think we can certainly be in contact with the
Does
lab.
I mean, you're doing 300 ponds, 400 ponds?
Yeah, today it is not a current requirement.
Are any of them asking for that? I'm just saying.
No.
Okay.
Not all of them have a Scott.
Yeah, apparently not.
None of them do.
Yeah,
You're
I
unique.
would agree with that. None of them do.
My suspicion as a microbiologist is that there are microorganisms in there that are going to help break that stuff down. But there are a lot of molecules in the environment that are recalcitrant and will not be broken down. And those can have long-lasting toxicity effects and so on. I couldn't find any data on those two breakdown products.
Although I don't know the information off the top of my head, but I would guess, have you looked at the EPA registrant documentation? Because environmental fate and those degradate, persistence is generally a component of that.
I've only read the labels.
Okay.
So
I mean, I think we could probably look to see if there is an existing data set that we can provide with
That would be
respect to
great.
the EPA registration
Yeah.
data.
Like I say, that would be a small thing. If you're doing
Yeah,
an
no,
analysis
understood.
anyway, just look for 2 more peaks.
Yep.
I'm sure the molecular weights are well-known, well-characterized.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a big deal.
Absolutely.
Do you remember the 2 he asked for?
I don't, but I'm hoping that we can connect after this and he can give them to me.
No problem.
Okay. All right.
That's it for now, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Jessica?
Can you describe, you referred to a DEP waiver. Can you tell me more about that?
Sure. Like I said, this product goes through a Massachusetts registration, and as a result of that, the state is able to require additional conditions on the use of the product, and so that they actually have standard, I'll say, conditions with respect to the use of flumioxazin in particular. And one of those conditions is the repeat use of it in the same area over a 4-year period. And so we requested and received a variance waiver, whatever the correct terminology is, from DEP staff.
So normally it wouldn't be applied in the same place?
Again, there are multiple conditions, and so there are some exemptions to that. But yes, by and large, the same area, with the exception of swimming beaches, dock areas, those types of kind of water-dependent use locations.
I mean, I might just add, if you've looked at the plan, I mean, we're doing what we call spot treatment, right? So this year, we've a total of like 10 acres, I believe, but it's 2 acres here, it's 1 acre there, it's a ½ acre over there. There's about 8 spots. So we go where we can see it emerging, you know, and that's pretty much, so we chase it around, and every fall, we look and see if any of it's popped up again, because it's like, you know, weeds in your yard, you use Roundup, and it works for some places good, and other places it comes up. But like you said earlier, there's no product out there that actually will eradicate the stuff. And but they made us do a study. DEP had us do a study to see if we were getting improvement on native plants coming back, because these invasives, what they do is they crowd them all out. So they're destroying the native plants. And we did get a positive reading that, yeah, there's getting some regrowth of the native plant, which is great.
Is there ever a threshold at which you would say, okay, now we can go from this herbicide usage to more of a manual maintenance plan? Or is this herbicide, is the plan herbicide or this very specific chemical?
Yeah, no, I think that
perpetuity?
option exists at a certain density and distribution, I guess, threshold. I'm not sure. And I think the other thing to consider with respect to kind of physical controls of, you know, these 2 particular plants is that they do reproduce through vegetative fragmentation. And so once you've achieved kind of a certain reduction, employing those strategies can sometimes elicit an expansion of the growth, because if you're not super diligent in collecting fragments that are created as a result of the management effort, then you do have the ability to spread it both, you know, aerially in terms of distribution, but also increase density kind of within those managed areas.
So is the plan, the long-term plan then, just to continue as you're doing in perpetuity?
I think so, yes.
And the variance or waiver allows for that?
Correct.
I'm sorry, what the,
And we have,
for labor, I'm sorry, what is
for
that?
the use of flumioxazin.
Variance for, okay, I get you. All right. Yeah, I mean, there's 150 acres out there, and I'm not sure what you meant by, you mean like pulling weeds by hand?
I do. I'm just
Yeah.
asking for alternatives. If there are,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, you had mentioned that you're down to 10 acres, right? And that it's more of a spot treatment. And I'm wondering if it's been beaten back to that level, if there are alternatives that might be less impactful on the rest of the species and the people and the soil and the
Yeah,
the
I mean, I don't
ecosystem.
think the expense of that would be like, no pond would be able to afford that, and we certainly couldn't either. But again, it's fragmentation, and it just, you spread it. I mean, you see some places, they used to have machines with paddle wheels and everything. That just spreads, and as far as the disturbance of and the turbidity and everything else, those things are like not done anymore. I mean, the chemicals are so scientific at this point in time that they've replaced, I'd say 99% of any of the, prior, earlier efforts that they were using.
So Keith, is that accurate to say that that's not done anymore?
I think it's not, I think it's accurate to say it's not done on the same scale as it was, a decade or even further ago than that. One, we've learned more about the phenology of these invasive plants, and so the application of that technology for certain species, we know now has the potential to exacerbate the problem. And so the scale in which mechanical harvesting was used in the 80s and 90s has dropped off, and it really is only employed, in my knowledge, either in a scenario where the plant has, spread to really all of the habitable, areas of the lake, and so it is truly a maintenance situation, or for seed propagating species, so that, removing and harvesting the plants before they develop seed does have a long-term management benefit to controlling the plants.
Okay,
I'm done for now.
Paula Jean.
Okay, well, I have some layperson questions for you. So, Mr. Lenahan said that this is about 10 years you've been doing this. So my first question is, at what point, people have been living on this pond and enjoying it for a long time, at what point did it become a problem? I realize how it's propagated. People
Sure.
don't clean off the propellers of a boat, and they bring it on a trailer. I'm familiar with all of
Yeah.
that, and it's a problem. But I'm trying to picture how, at some point, people got together and said, okay, we got a problem happening here, and did the research, and came up with you folks.
Yeah, well, that's a question for Mike. He
And-
was
Yeah.
ground zero for that.
So I'm questioning about, with any problem, it's always good to get to the root of the problem. No pun intended.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't lived on the pond, when I bought a house on the pond, I didn't realize how bad it was. So I proceeded to organize a group and see what we can do about this. And thanks to Senator Pacheco and helping us get going on this thing, we're able to achieve the success that we have today. But, guys that have lived there a lot longer, there was really no access to this pond other than a little gravel path over there. And once it became more open, and the Fish and Wildlife bought that lot right now where the parking lot is. They bought that about 35, 40 years ago. There was an ice cream stand there. And at that point, more people started coming from off lake.
Yeah.
I mean, people could get their boats in from their own property and so forth, but there was really not a heck of a lot of public access until that. That is when fishermen came in and transient boaters, and you're talking 40 years ago, very few people were worried about these type of invasives at that point, and that's how they came in, and they spread rapidly. That's to the knowledge of the people who've been there a long time. Nowadays, most fishermen understand that there's laws against, bringing weeds from one pond to the other. In New Hampshire and Maine, you're going to go buy a guard that's there, okay, when you put your boat in there. It might be a high school kid in the summer, but they're going to tell you. And so it's less likely that boaters are bringing these things in anymore, but in the early stages,
Yep.
even these invasives, they don't have they're not ancient history from when they started here. They've been up here in the last 30 or 40 years.
So the plan you came up with was using these two herbicides and it's like whack-a-mole, right?
Yeah,
At this stage.
some degree, but
Yeah.
it's working. We take a 150-acre pond and we only treat we're down to like 10 acres, I think, this year. And the rest of the place is holding up, and because you're getting a little bit more than a year in some places on some of this stuff, but some of it's not. I mean, if the thing, it's really been successful, and again, the dilution factor and is tremendous, you know, when we only do a certain amount of
Right,
product
right.
in
You
150.
don't want to kill everything, have a death
Yeah,
zone.
I
and-
mean, it's.
So that was
it's
my next
specific.
question, is about that. You're doing good, but at the same time, it's a two-edged sword. How can you not be killing the native species along with the invasive species? And so it would perpetuate, you're killing the good
No, they,
along with it. I mean, what are they, how can they not be equally impacted?
Well, I think it really boils down to the
There's a science now.
susceptibility of each of the plant species. And so think of it as there is a natural distribution among each individual plant species in terms of their susceptibility
Sure.
to these products. And I think fortunately, most of these products have been developed to address invasive plant infestations. And so there's a higher level of susceptibility, meaning they are susceptible at a much lower treatment rate or dose concentration.
And just naturally, just by the nature of the plant, they happen to be,
Correct.
because what about resistance over time? You know, that comes back and bites you.
It does. That is
In
somewhat
10 years,
dependent
so-
upon the product.
We're at
And
year 10, so that's why it's a good time to take
Correct.
a look at this and see.
which we have as a
what is
result of kind of our ongoing monitoring over the last 10 years,
Right.
and we've not seen resistance or a lack of control in the managed areas for
Mm-hmm.
the target species.
And is there any other oversight? With all due respect, your company makes a living by doing this and by using these chemicals in ponds and helping people try to recover their recreational water.
Yes.
But what oversight is there over your monitoring and testing?
So all of the monitoring results are provided to the various regulatory agencies, part of
So
why
they
we're
come
here
in every
today.
year after you guys and then do some testing and
We-
test some of the
We
native.
provide the reports of the information to those agencies, yes.
Is there a way to test the native plants to see if they are, you know, waxing
They're
or
observed
waning?
by
or-
during the monitoring phases, okay, which is 48 hours, 5 days, 7 days, 14 days, 21 days.
Yep.
We
I heard
monitor
about-
the stuff, we take the samples, we observe for any fish.
We
That's-
being.
But I
your-
didn't
your
make all the
company?
stuff,
Who-
in-
Excuse me, who is doing, you're saying "we," so are
Yeah.
your camp, the members of your
no.
lake association
we
or
ha-
the company?
I think, I appreciate that you haven't been here from the beginning on this thing, but, you know, we primarily, meaning our consultant, has to go through DEP,
Oh, well aware.
endangered species, and marine fisheries. They govern all the rules that we do. So they are the ones that get the plan.
Okay, so
Okay,
there,
like
so
this
the
year-
answer is that those are the folks who are
Yes,
doing the
those are the
oversight.
three agencies.
Correct, yes.
And they're in charge of these products, too. I mean, DEP, if there's any bad results on any of these registered products, DEP would be notified. And there is no incidents in the past 5 years at least of any
Sure.
negative impacts.
Well, I follow what you're saying, but I'm, in all, realizing the DEP has that job and does that job with whatever resources they have.
Yeah.
But when I think of things such as DDT, when everyone learned about DDT and the impact that it had on wildlife and birds, it was 10 more years before it became illegal. So in the meantime, people used it and could say it's perfectly legal in all the states. And, you know, it must be safe, it's still approved to use, I can buy it. So that argument, to me, is kind of like, doesn't hold water.
Well, I didn't
Well, I
mean to
guess the
make
only
an
thing that I
argument.
would say is that the
They're the
regulatory
smartest people in
framework.
the state
Hey,
dealing
hey,
with this
don't
stuff.
talk over each other.
I'm sorry.
I would just say the regulatory framework in that time, I mean, certainly a terrible thing,
Yeah.
but the regulatory framework was not the same
Well,
at that
hopefully, we're
time.
progressing.
I would say we certainly have.
Right.
Uh,
So say another 10 years down the road, is this, how much is that problem, the potential of that problem on your radar?
Well, I think these products go through, part of kind of the evolution of the regulatory requirements, both of the registration of these products and the use of these products, is
Right.
they do go through re-registration. And so there is an ability to kind of re-review.
while.
It does. I mean, it's not perfect.
Yeah, It takes a while.
but
I mean, Roundup is
it's the process
still-
we have.
Roundup is still legal and you can get it anywhere, but it's being banned in Europe, it's being banned there are how many untold number of lawsuits, people having cancer. You know, you find out after the fact, and hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I'm thinking about looking forward and maybe doing something sooner rather than later.
Well, we just did a Mesa filing, which is a 50-page filing, a summary of everything that we did it in 2023. You guys have a copy of it. That's an extensive review of the project. So we do that every 5 years. We've got another one coming up in about 3 years. And at that point, maybe we could, but there, in other words, the Mesa makes, you know, everybody that's doing this work, and the agencies that are overseeing it, they review it all, and they take it, you know, because DEP's got 300 or 400 ponds to look at, right?
Yeah, they're super busy,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. This
Yeah.
could just fall, it just could go on for years, and then we'll go, oh,
But-
whoops.
Again, there is a process called a Mesa, which, you know, we're obligated to do it every 5 years. And so we've been doing that report also and paying for it, you know? So
Okay.
the agencies are, I mean,
That's all
they
we've got.
respond to me in right, I mean, every year, they might have something, like this year, Marine Fisheries asked for a couple of, can you do the 14-day test? Because we weren't doing it because the endangered species said you don't need it, so I said, yeah, we'll put the 14-day. So it isn't like they're just brooming these things through, let me tell you. I have
I'm
very
sure.
much communication with these agencies, and they're on the ball, I mean.
Well, we hope
my
so, they
opinion.
should be, but
Yeah, they should
sometimes
be.
it's not a perfect world, and it's good to be proactive.
Yeah,
I do have one other question, but I'd like to wait on that, Sandy.
Okay,
So, Madam Chair,
all right.
thank you.
Autumn,
No questions, thank you.
my question for you, I heard one of the issues was the limited flow out of the pond, a slow flow out of the pond. What will the impact be when that dam is removed? Because that is the plan of the state. Would that change?
Yeah,
no.
absolutely. Well,
no.
our ability to manage the plants,
Say,
no.
you have a dam, it's limiting the amount of water flowing out. It dam is going to be replaced to do a better fish ladder and stuff like that. What will be the impact, or should we ask the question when the state gets close to
Well,
doing
I've already
it?
asked the question to the state to make sure who's going to manage I mean, all these dams, I mean, they're for flow control. I mean, that's what they're built for. I mean, yeah, they use the water for irrigation and so forth, but they're also, they're for runoff and for control of flows, to prevent flooding. And someone has to go down there and manually open before a storm, right? Go open those, take some of those planks out so that you can drop the pond a little bit, so you'll absorb the storm that's coming 3 days from now. I mean, that's how, and you know who does all that work right now? Makepeace. Because they have the rights to the water, and they manage the water. Now, when the state puts the new dam in, I'm not sure Makepeace wants to do anything with that dam, but I hope they do.
Question was the impact
But-
on the treatment. I understand what a dam is used for, but
Yeah,
I want
but-
to understand the impact on the treatment.
Yeah.
If there is a heavier flow out of the basin.
So I'll follow through with that. I think this will clear it. I mean, part of the procedure that we do here, again, all through the agencies, exactly how we're gonna do this, right? We drop the pond level about 12 inches, okay? Over a course of 3 or 4 days, we'll pull a plank, pull a second plank. That is Makepeace. I have to do this in conjunction with Makepeace, because I gotta coordinate all my work that we're doing over there with them and the cranberry growers that use the water in that pond. So Makepeace will drop the pond down about a foot, put the boards back. Now we treat, okay? So now we slowed the flow of the water down. Nothing's going over the dam. for a few days until the water builds itself back up and goes over the dam. And that allows the half-life of the product to, so that's how it's managed. Now, with the state, you know, I'd rather deal with Makepeace any day than to have to figure what state guy is gonna help me lower the pond, but that's a few years down the road, about 4 years.
But with the dam removed, there won't be the ability to reduce the height of that pond that you're doing the treatment. Will
No.
that change how you do the treatments?
No, that's not true. No, I've been Sandy, I've been involved in the, you know, with the state and the Public Works, because we're concerned, the pond owners are concerned what's gonna go on here. But it has the ability to raise and lower the pond, just the way the existing dam does. Little fancier, low-level outlet with a gate valve.
All right,
During
okay.
construction.
I guess
But,
I saw the presentation and I had a different opinion, but all right, and as to the point of trying to remove these manually, it's like trying to remove your bittersweet. As long as you've got an orange weed, an orange root, it's gonna continue to grow. So that's the same concept of trying to remove these manually. It'd be just as bad as bittersweet, but that's, okay, next one, Michael.
Yes, after looking at the reports a couple weeks ago and seeing the photos just now, this appears to be a very seasonally active dam, and there are people in the area. What are the plans to notify the abutters to the property that activity is going to occur during, say, date A and date B, so that there's minimal activity during the activity to this?
During the treatments?
Sure.
Yeah, during the treatment,
Yeah.
correct.
Do you want?
well, we'll get a whole bunch of signs from Solitude with the date, and we post them on the streets, you know,
Okay.
on every 500 feet or so, up and down Glen Charlie and the other surrounding streets. So that puts people on notice. I personally, I communicate with 80 Makepeace, Roundsville, Cranberry, and also Maple Park, because they have cranberries. So I'll coordinate the whole effort with them personally. So those are the people. And as far as, like, boaters, you know, the whole thing only takes like 3 or 4 hours on a Wednesday morning. And so there's very minimal people going in the pond, you know what I mean? Boaters, there's hardly anybody there anyway. So we do have a sign at the boat ramp, you know, that you can only use a certain portion of the pond until noontime or something like that. But everybody we don't want some boat just showing up in the middle of, while he's working and his crew's working and doing it, you know. So we notify all the abutters and the people that draw from the pond, meaning those cranberry companies, so.
Okay, So they do get notified via, say, mail, and there will be
Yeah.
like signs posted as well?
Yes,
outside
yes,
as well.
Mike, yeah.
Okay, that's all I
And
had. I'm
Per
sorry.
the label, there actually is no restriction on the use of the water for recreation. So in theory, although it's generally not our practice, we certainly try and dissuade people from being around where the application is taking place, but according to the label, they could be.
All right, that's all I had, Madam Chair, thanks.
Kwame?
Thank you for the packet. I think, and this is from the general public, I think the only concern is the water quality once the plants decay, and the local impacts from that. As we know, I'm sure that we probably won't know until like 10 years down the line, but I think that's one of the only concerns.
Yeah, and I think that's a reasonable concern, and I think one that both manufacturer EPA labels take into account, and it's really managing the amount of area treated on any one instance to reduce the amount of plant biomass that's going to break down post-treatment that would essentially increase that biological oxygen demand. And so given that we have gone through kind of the higher volume treatments, and now we're kind of in this maintenance phase, there's really a fairly muted impact to dissolved oxygen post-treatment. And that's something that both DMF is concerned with, and DEP is concerned with. And we do monitor that at those various intervals post-treatment. And we've had a few instances where it's fallen kind of below kind of the typical 5 milligrams per liter threshold, but probably the lowest it's been is 3 to 4. So, and that's really in that kind of sediment water interface zone of the lake. And so there's been no undue stress to the fish or other wildlife as a result of dissolved oxygen.
Now, Kwame, I think you mentioned in the muck may be created by the, okay? So let me tell you that if we weren't treating this, this is what happens in this pond. The weeds grow all the way to the surface, right? 8 feet, 10 feet long. They all, at the wintertime, they die. Everything dies and goes to the bottom and rots. But the seeds will generate again in the spring. So that 8-foot plant, right, will go to the bottom and create muck and rot, okay? When our program is timed such that we get the plants before they come up too high. We coordinate between the marine fisheries and so forth on the herring run and early on in the plant's growth. So the small spots that we hit, we're only dropping, like, the plants are 18 inches high, maybe. So we're actually reducing, the program reduces the amount of muck that, if you, for this lack of a more technical term, that the pond is gathering every year, so.
Christine, any comments on this?
Well, actually, I was thinking of something, when you brought up the potential for there to be like a heavier water flow, is that gonna be, if it's gonna be much quicker, there have been a couple of things about how you shouldn't be using Flumigard and Procelacor in fast-moving waters.
Yeah.
So I guess it would just be, how is that?
Well, maybe next year when they come back, we'll address it when we have more of a firm time frame for the state to do that dam. Now, any other questions or comments from the board before I go to the public?
Yes, I have one other. Thank you.
Me too.
Okay, I don't know if you're familiar with a letter, a report from the Minnesota Department of Agriculture, and they reported it to the Minnesota legislature. I have a letter from the Chautauqua Lake Association in New York, who found out about this, and they learned, this was less than a year ago, 2024, the Minnesota Department of Agriculture identified the active ingredient in Procelacor as a PFAS-containing pesticide. Even when the active ingredient degrades, the resulting degradants retain the fluoride carbon bond that Minnesota determined to be a PFAS pesticide. As you know, PFAS is a class of forever chemicals, cause cancer, have contaminated drinking water supplies in communities across the country, including in New York, I'm sure including in Massachusetts. They are speaking about the concern that this Procelacor will not degrade and disappear. And they also understand that there's current litigation seeking compensation for from as many as 24 manufacturers for harm caused by PFAS.
Pete, you want to comment to that? Are you comfortable commenting?
Sure, I can tell you what I know, and certainly Minnesota's definition of what is a PFAS is broader than the EPA's term, and so that's obviously in debate currently. But as things stand today, EPA does not view Procelacor as being a forever chemical or a PFAS.
So it's kind of not a resolved issue at this point. It's being debated, and this is new research.
Yeah.
I don't think it's new research. It's just an application of a definition of what constitutes a PFAS.
Okay, so it doesn't concern you? I mean, you don't feel concerned about that?
Based on the information that I have, it does not.
Thank you.
Scott, I heard you. You wanted another something else?
I do have a couple of follow-ups. And one is, I didn't know about this letter before, but one of those compounds, breakdown compounds from flumioxazine is also a fluorinated compound. So that might well fall into the Minnesota's definition. And so if you're looking just at flumioxazine, you might say, oh, that's not a PFAS, but the degradation product might be. So that would go back to my question about whether you can also,
Sure.
if you're looking at these benthic sediments anyway, you might as well look for that. Okay. Second is, I want to challenge you respectfully on your characterization of this as targeted at invasive species plants. So in sublabel A for flumioxazine, they list 20 genera of plants against which this is effective. So, and very broadly, I'm not a botanist. I haven't taken the time to look at how many plant families that is or what the genetic relationship is, but 20 genera from algae to flowering plants, that's a huge, broad range of plants.
Well,
Plus, let me finish. There is a question in here somewhere. Plus, they're relatively high toxicity against aquatic invertebrates. So that doesn't seem very targeted against these specific plants to me. Oh, so let me ask the question.
okay.
How can you say that these are targeted against invasive species with this broad target plant range of at least 20 genera that are listed here, let alone all the thousands that are not tested?
I think what I said is it comes down to dose, rate, and concentration of the product. And that's where the selectivity, the mode of action absolutely at certain concentrations will have an impact on a wide variety of plant species. But however, given the fact that these species are susceptible at really low doses, there is some protection, I'll say, or selectivity for these invasive plant species over native plants.
At those doses that you're using?
Correct.
Let me also say that I think I'm convinced that the project is being administered and monitored and controlled as best it is possible to do. So I'm not quibbling with that. What I'm concerned about, and I think some others on this group are concerned about too, is this idea of perpetuity and the unknown nature of the breakdown products and what their effects might be over time.
That's correct. That's, you speak for me there too. Concerned about what is the long-term plan? And is are there alternatives? And what is our process long-term for checking back in and, getting more information and understanding what else might be possible, or if new treatments are being developed or methodology, or I'm concerned that in order to use it the way we are, we have to get a waiver. I mean, that worries me, especially if it's our plan moving forward for the future.
And that is why they come before us every year before they do the application, in case something new has come up or another method has been identified or something has been found as saying it's a problem.
Okay.
That's why they come to us annually.
I guess I didn't realize before that this is also being used as irrigation water, which also requires a special permit to use this in water bodies where the water is being used for irrigation. Do you have that special permit?
Yes.
Okay.
In the pond itself, the agriculture using it is more upstream for the cranberry bogs. Once it's done on the treatment, it comes down the agawam, goes by the sewer plant, then out in the Wareham River, which is none of that is used for agriculture watering. So the cranberry bogs are all upstream, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, I mean,
all right.
again, the dilution factor, once it goes over the pond, over the dam into the brackish water. And,
Okay.
but I don't know if everybody, I know Scott understands half-life, but, that's why we contain it for 3 or 4 days. The half-life's down, the product will eventually disappear.
And by the time that half-life the
Yeah.
water will start flowing over the dam, and therefore it has been reduced.
Yes.
Is there anybody online or in the audience would like to comment on this? We are going to be asked to approve the application of this pesticides, is what's in front of us. She left. I was going to have Christine confirm that that's what we're here for. I think, right?
No,
I-
well,
I-
Yeah.
I mean, I have a order of conditions that
But you come before us to give
I
us an
know.
update every year.
is, right, I
And the
do.
order of condition continues until we stop it.
Well, I have to come back for order conditions every,
Yep.
I've got
All
a
right, I
couple
get
of
confused.
3-year
It's been-
extensions, so,
Okay.
and then
So
I
when
bring
was the last time you got an order of conditions from us?
2023,
Okay, so it's got one more year on that.
yes.
Or you're giving us an update that you're going to do it again. And you'll come before us next year to get
You're going to
another
get the final
order of
report,
condition.
like you
Yep.
do every year.
Yep,
Then I'd be back here next year
Okay.
with the proposed plan, and if there's, we're gonna see what UMass says with some additional testing, and whether they can do it and so forth, and I don't know if any other conservation commissions
So
are as
there's-
alert as
there's-
you guys are on the whole longevity thing. I don't know, but we can certainly address
there's
that.
no vote on the table tonight because you have your order of conditions. This was just an informational update.
I do have a recommendation, though. I think
Well,
that-
sorry, we do ask for the sediment be tested for 2 more
compounds.
minerals, compounds. I was looking for the
Yeah,
right
I got that.
words. That's the only additional information I saw come out, that you wanted the sediments tested.
I don't see that being an issue.
Do we have the ability, though, to check in on a new plan before the dam is removed and before we have?
Oh, yes,
flow?
It's gonna-
we're years before the dam being removed. They'll be coming back before us for an order of conditions next year. We'll have that discussion. All right? Thank you.
All right, well, hope you,
Oh,
certainly the most educated panel on this
wow, a
on these
whole
things,
hour.
but
Thank you.
I think everybody should be, I know DEP and everybody else, I mean, all these environmental, they're so happy that there is a product out there that can restore these ponds. And if you saw the fully recreational activities that we have on that pond, it's like a miracle compared to what it was 10 years ago, so. And the last picture, if you saw it, those are my 2 granddaughters, just as I dump them off the,
You want the
off
pictures
the
back?
tube.
You
You
might as
can
well-
have those if you want. I
No.
don't know if anyone doesn't, I'll take them.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, appreciate your time.
Okay. Alan, Wewiantic River Corridor Land Conservation Project. We were sent to some documents regarding the Wareham River Corridor Conservation Project, and please introduce yourself, Alan.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I'm Alan Decker with Buzzards Bay Coalition, and before I get started, Madam Chair, I know you got a map. I have some additional maps that show additional resource values on this property that I'd
Pass them out.
pass up for the commission to,
So I'm hoping you've all had a chance to go through the CRs that were given to us for review. We have a CR for a Wewiantic Landscape CR and a Wewiantic Wetlands Cranberry CR overview. Can you talk to us about these 2 CRs and what you're looking for us tonight?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm pleased to be back with you this evening on this really important land conservation project that actually is one of the largest things the coalition's ever been involved in. As you know you would have heard about this project, at least in general, because the commission, when Mr. Faraday was the conservation agent, actually submitted a letter of support when we were seeking some state funding to go into this project last year. And then this was a project that sought some Community Preservation Act funding last fall town meeting, last October, which town meeting did approve for this project. So what we're talking about is a total of, I always like these numbers because this is, I think, fairly impressive. This is 750-acre project that spans 2 towns. There is 220 acres of the project in the town of Wareham and 526 acres in the town of Carver. What the focus of this project is the protection of the Weweantic River. The river is on the west side of the property, as you see from the locus map. And what we are doing, we are acquiring this property later this year, actually possibly as soon as the very end of this month, but more likely in the month of June, to be the long-term fee holder of the property. And we are intent on doing, in the long term, wetland restoration of the property. As you can see, there are extensive wetlands and there are cranberry bogs on this property. So that's our reason for getting involved and getting fee ownership of this property. We want to more naturalize the wetlands and enable the river to not suffer further degradation from the use that's happening or uses that happen tangentially to the property. We're also interested in having the property be open to the public and use it for environmental education and just passive recreation. So what you're looking at are the 2 components that make up the 750 acre parcel. You'll see 2 colors on your map, one outlined in red, one outlined in gold or yellow, if you will. Madam Chair, this gets to the heart of the question that you asked me initially. Landscape and wetlands, those are just names we came up with because we were able to present this acreage to 2 different state funding programs that meant if we were successful, and I'm glad to say that we were in getting grants from both programs, that they focus on 2 different elements. So we broke the project into these 2 components, one being 458 acres and one being 288, simply because of the funding sources that were available for the project. They don't necessarily mean anything other than the wetlands side has more wetlands, has most of the cranberry bogs in it, and then the landscape side is just the other component of the project. What I will tell you is that along with other properties that we own long-term, particularly ones here in Wareham, we are not planning anything long-term different from what we do on those other properties. As I said, passive recreational access for the public. We are on this property because of the cranberries. We are reserving the agricultural use because we are going to do long-term wetland restoration. That takes, we have learned from doing other cranberry bog retirement, turning into natural wetland projects. It takes time to develop the plan, get the permitting squared away, have the engineering squared away, we will obviously be working with the Conservation Commission on that restoration plan. But that is, much like the dam in the prior project, a few years down the road. So in the interim, we intend to allow the agricultural use, the cranberry production, to continue through the 2027 growing season. We have an operator lined up to continue the cranberry production, and then you'll notice that there's the area, the southernmost bogs for the parcel, which are in the outlined area that's orange immediately north of Interstate 495. There's a map, the last map in this pack gives you a little area It's about, well, it's not that little, but it's about 75 acres total, outlined in yellow. Those bogs inside that yellow polygon, we intend for long-term continued agricultural use. The reason being, those are very, very productive bogs at this point. They've been recently redone. They have newer vine varieties growing on them. And possibly, we want to do some experimentation, potentially, with those vines to see if they can be as productive or almost as productive without the normal courses of herbicides and fertilizers and the other things, to see if we can provide a template for the industry, perhaps. No, nothing written in stone about that, but that's why those bogs at the bottom there are being reserved for agricultural use. Other than that, it is a co-hold. You have partners on this project in your co-commission, your fellow commissioners in Carver. And so because it is a co-hold, I want to just make sure it's understood that the limit of your oversight stops at the town line. So Wareham is concerned with the Wareham portion. Carver is concerned with the Carver portion. When we get to an element of exercising a reserved right, the way the document is set up, or the documents, both conservation restrictions, the way that they're set up, if an activity is in Carver, we will directly notify Carver about exercising the reserved right and provide Wareham with a courtesy copy of what we're planning to do. And then vice versa. If we're doing an activity in Wareham, we will notify you directly and provide Carver with a courtesy notification. I know you have a very full agenda tonight of other matters. I'm happy to answer any questions commissioners have at this point, but what I'm seeking this evening is your assent to holding the conservation restrictions, both of them, on acreage totaling about 750 acres as part of the Weantic River Corridor Land Protection Project, and sign signature pages for both conservation restrictions this evening. With that, Madam Chair.
Before I ask the questions, I'm going to ask, what will our responsibility be of being the holder of the CR? I know you have to go to the select board for their approval.
We do. That'll be the next
What is our
step
responsibility?
in this process. Well, your responsibility is to ensure that the coalition sticks to what we've agreed to not do through the conservation restriction. How you go about that is generally achieved by doing regular monitoring of the property with the landowner.
I thought you were going to say, okay, go out, let's walk the property, let's walk the boundary lines.
We
and-
are happy to have you come out
Just-
and, yeah.
That is our responsibility, is to make sure that everything is done correctly and it hasn't been encroached upon or anything else like that. Christine, am I thinking, as a holder of the CR, we are responsible to make sure it is managed correctly?
Yes.
Okay.
We view the town as a partner in this project, and so it's
Now, Kwame, I'll start with you. Questions?
Well, I think you just kind of answered my question, but who's responsible for, like, I don't know, the trash and all that other good stuff? Who's responsible for cleanups?
So that's us, because we're the property owners. That's us, and I don't know, we have several reserves already here in town. One being, the one that you may know well is Horseshoe Mill. That's a property that we own, and speaking of dams, we modified the dam there, and so that's a publicly accessible.
Who's the holder of the CR for that? I don't think it's us.
No, that one is held by the state.
Okay,
That
thank
one's
you.
held by by Mass Wildlife, the Massachusetts Department of Fish and Game. But as the property owner, and I have coworkers, our land stewardship program, or my coworkers in land stewardship, that's what they do. They spend time keeping eyes on our properties, addressing dumping issues, addressing encroachments from other landowners, and also making sure that public access is achieved in a safe fashion. Trees down over a trail, we address it. If there are bog boards that were in place that have started to decay and degrade, we address it. We are very hands-on with our properties. We like eyes on them because we don't want problems to crop up. I appreciate the question.
Michael?
Okay, kind of beating a dead horse here, but kind of as Kwame was saying, who's responsible for like pickup and stuff? If trash pickup is on, is like, so like the Wareham side is responsible for the trash pickup there, the Carver side is responsible for the trash pickup there. Is that my understanding?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't follow.
So
They are
basically-
responsible for the trash
So
pickup.
you're responsible for the whole, for
We
like. for the
are.
whole pickup?
We will be the property owner, and yeah, as a responsible landowner, it'll be up to us. Now, we can potentially work out, sometimes we work out agreements with the local town, with the DPW to help us. We'll do cleanups if we need to and arrange for trash to be picked, once it's collected, to be picked up by the town on a case-by-case basis. We're not counting on that by any means. But yeah, it is our responsibility to do so.
Now, you mentioned that there will be, let's say, recreational trails, so to speak.
Correct.
Any ideas where those might be placed so far, and where
Well,
those, like,
yeah, as you can-
parking issues and all that, or?
Yeah, no, I appreciate the question. Because there are existing bog cells, lots of trail opportunities follow those berms. Property has what I will call social trails that the current landowning family has created over time. We will formalize that in a more cohesive or cogent process. We also, the conservation restriction, you may have noticed, both of them reserve the abilities for us to, with proper permitting, to place couple parking areas to enhance public access, make it safe for the public to access it. We haven't developed that plan yet, what the access is going to look like long-term, and so I don't have anything to give you definitively right now about that. But we
So
do.
that's something we'll see down the road then.
Absolutely,
All right,
absolutely.
okay. Madam Chair, that's all I had.
Thank you.
Autumn?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Paula Jean?
No questions, thank you.
All right,
Jessica?
No questions, thank you.
all right,
Scott.
thank you.
I just have a couple of short points.
Okay.
One is, so I've been trying to think of how we can make what we do as a conservation commission, and frankly as a sewer commission as well, my other hat, be more effective by thinking more regionally than just the town line ends, and obviously flow of nitrogen and phosphorus and these other things. They don't respect
They
town
don't.
borders very well. So I'm wondering if there is some way, or if it would be useful for us to have some kind of more regional meeting, maybe an informal meeting with Carver. I don't know if there's such a thing as an informal meeting with the Carver people. I don't know them. Do you know them?
No?
Be nice to know them and what they're up to. And for a project like this, it might be really useful for us to work together and try to figure out, so you're not dealing with patchwork, different philosophies and
Yeah,
bylaws and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. I
That
think
sounds like the request is something's going to be done in Carver. We meet with Carver, or Wareham meets with Wareham. So we meet and hear the proposal together
Sure.
as the impact it might have from coming
Sure.
down the river.
Certainly understandable. I mean, this is a co-hold relationship. Just keep in mind, jurisdiction ends
Yes.
at the town line. But there's not an issue that I can see with collaboration or consultation between the two commissions.
And the other point I would make is, did I understand you correctly that you're going to try some organic farming with these bogs?
Not necessarily organic, straight out organic, but maybe less intensive use of fertilizers and pesticides. And again, this is just potential. Right now, the agricultural use is reserved in the conservation restriction. Long-term for what I call the landscape CR, which on this component map is the area outlined in orange because of the area at the bottom. Ultimately, after the 2027 growing season, the agriculture use, the cranberry production in the red area is going to stop.
Okay.
That's that. Organic, I'd love to think that that's possible. We are as concerned about nitrogen as you individually and as the commission and the Board of Health in town is as well. So yeah, it's something that I have coworkers that work on the advocacy of reducing nitrogen pollution every day of their work career. So it is certainly a concern for us as well. I can't say that we would go organic if we did this from day one.
Yeah, there's not very much organic production left in Massachusetts, and for very good reason. It's just not economically viable.
So will there be an outside entity managing those and working on the bogs?
Yes, we will have a separate operator. We are not going to
Will
do
you
that.
have oversight of them?
We will have an agreement with them as to the operation of the bogs. I don't know what that looks like at this point.
There will be an agreement as to, and knowing you're concerned about nitrogen and fertilizer, that will always be a consideration with the agreement as to what could be done in those bogs.
So at least initially through the 2027 growing season, I don't see anything really changing with the way the bogs are operated now. Once that growing season is done and it's simply the potential area at the bottom of the landscape, that 35 acres right above the interstate, I don't know if we would use the same operator or work with another operator.
Okay.
That decision has not been broached or
To be
decided.
determined.
To be determined, yes.
Christine, any comments on this? We're looking for approval on the two CRs, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
All right, yes.
assent to, yeah.
No, I'm no longer. The question is whether or not swearing in. Honestly, I've never received a in-writing requirement for swearing in, so I'm not doing it anymore. Now, Mr. Bowen can come back and slap my hand, but until I see it in writing, I'm not doing it anymore. All right, anything else?
What was the time frame for the project?
So we're looking to close as soon as we possibly can. Right now, that we've targeted the very end of May potentially, but to be candid, more likely early June. We have, not to overstate it, but in making this acquisition, we have $5.5 million of state grants that if they are not used by June 30th, they disappear like pixie dust, and we're not going to allow that to happen. So we're going to close in June.
Anybody commenting online or on audience on this? Because I'd like to, this is really not a hearing. So it's not a hearing, is it? We're here to whether or not we approve the CRs.
Whether you assent to them or agree to take them,
Right.
hold them. Yeah,
Hold, that we will be the holder of the CRs.
that's right. And Madam Chair, I do have, thank you for pointing this out, I do have updated signature lines.
So we will be asked to sign on indicating our willingness to become the holder of the CRs for this property.
Co-holder.
Co-holder, I forgot Carver and us, co-hold.
That's right.
All right, so
Yes, ma'am.
anything else? I take a motion to approve the conservation restriction for the Slocum Gibbs Weewantic Wetland Cranberry CR.
Second.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained? We are 600.
Madam Chair, I have these pages I'm happy to hand up. I also happen to be a notary,
notary.
and so I'm happy to notarize. If
So,
you don't,
I will do the next one, I will do this, and then you can give us the paperwork 2 at a time.
you got
Okay.
it.
We'll make a motion to approve the Slocum Gibbs Weeantic Landscape CR as a co-holder, as a conservation restriction.
So moved.
I have that motion.
Second.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 600. The paperwork's going to be coming around for our signatures. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, you can start. You don't, because he's not a voting member.
Okay, all right. I was concerned that we were, okay. We're good.
Nice. Yes. He's not a voting member yet.
Thank you. Christine, what I can do is I'll notarize these, and then I can scan, when I take care of that, I'll scan them over to you tomorrow so that you have them. Okay, yeah, sure, of course.
Do you need our IDs, or is,
No, I am perfectly comfortable. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time and the questions. This is one of the most exciting things that we've done in my time here with the coalition, and the fact that it's here in Wareham is just an added bonus.
I know we had a lot of conversations regarding the funding for community preservation, so as they're signing this, one of the things that's being considered is that it's up against the Westfield recreational sites that we have, which could very well be part of our trail into this property. So,
That would be exciting.
yep.
That would be exciting.
Thank you, everybody. All right. And thank you, everybody out there, for staying with us for this extended start. And I guess I'll see you on the 20th with the selectmen.
Thank you.
That's the next step. And at this point, I will bid you adieu, and I'm off to see your contemporaries in Carver. Have a good
Oh,
evening.
thank you, Alan. Bye. All right, ready for our first hearing.
Notice of public hearing pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act, General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Wareham Wetland Protective Bylaw, Division 6. A public hearing will be held in room 520, Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Massachusetts, on Wednesday, May 7th, 2025, at 6 p.m. On the request for determination of applicability for Robert Carlson, 134 County Road, Wareham, Massachusetts, 02576. Assembly of a 12-foot by 16-foot by 8-foot shed, installation of 231 linear feet of 4-foot chain link fence, and installation of 8-foot by 13-foot concrete pad for a hot tub. Map 67, Lot 67-0-B, 134 County Road, Wareham, Massachusetts. I motion to open the hearing.
I have
Second.
a motion, I have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, the hearing is open. Who's here talking? Is there anybody here? Please come forward and identify yourself, please.
Hi, I'm the property owner.
All right, have a seat and tell us your name, please.
Robert Carlson.
All right. Talk to us about what you'd like to do.
I would like to put a shed up, 12 by 16 in the backyard. That's it.
I heard more.
Oh, you want the whole?
You've already done some of this.
Yes, well, I've already done the fence and the concrete pad. The situation with that is, the previous owners of the house put in for a Loma. Me not having any, not dealing with any conservation at all before this, I thought that it was to amend the map for wetlands so that I wouldn't need a permit for all of this. About 2 days after we moved in, I got the LOMA approved. So I called the assessor's office and asked if I needed a permit for the shed and for the fence and for the concrete pad. They asked if I was in a wetland, and I said no, due to my stupidity. So I contacted the fence company. The fence came and put in the fence, put in the concrete pad, and I was in the process of talking to the shed company when they said that you really should, you know, check with the Conservation Commission. So I did, check with Christine, and lo and behold, it was just for insurance. So a LOMA is not, you know, not to amend the map for everything, it's just for insurance. So,
So,
so I paid the fine for the fence, I paid the fine for the concrete pad, and now I'm here for the shed.
all right, questions, Kwame,
No questions, thank you.
Michael,
No questions, Madam Chair, thank you.
Autumn,
No questions, thank you.
Paula Jean,
No questions. I was there today, and it all made sense. Thank you.
Scott,
No questions, thank you.
Jessica.
No questions, thank you.
All right, Christine, any comments?
No, it's fairly straightforward.
Fines have been paid?
Fines have been paid.
What's the issue?
$200 fine.
Okay. Keep in mind that fence went around an existing lawn, so it wasn't as if he disturbed a lot of activity. Anybody online or in the audience would like to comment on this? Nobody online. No one online?
I motion to close the hearing.
I have a motion to
Second.
close the hearing and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained. Christine, your recommendations?
-2, -6.
-2. Negative is a good thing.
One negative, you don't want.
Okay, I have
So moved.
I have that
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. It's approved. Wait until you get some paperwork from Christine before you get the work going.
Thank you,
Okay, thank you very much, Robert. Have a good one.
as well as you.
Enjoy the
Thank
hot tub. Okay. Next one, please.
On the request for determination of applicability for Eric DeCesar, 44 Bluegill Lane, Plymouth, Massachusetts, 02360, landscaping removing rocks, map 46A, 163, lot 5766, 136 Pinehurst Drive, Wareham, Massachusetts. I motion to open the hearing.
I have a motion to open the hearing.
Second.
And a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained. The hearing is open. Anybody here for this project? Please come forward and identify yourself. Wait, when you get to the microphone.
I'm Eric.
Eric. DECESAR?
Correct.
Okay, talk to us about what you want to do.
So there's just three-quarter crushed stone around the existing house. You know, we had there was a bunch of broken glass in it, so I decided to dig it up. I didn't know at the time that I needed to do anything about that until a neighbor kind of walked by and was like, yeah, you might just want to check. So I called Christine on that Monday and kind of told her what was going on, and then we filled out the permit. Originally we were just going to put rocks back, but now that she'll be walking around, ideally we like to do loam and grass, and then just an edging around the house also.
And it's already disturbed property. Okay, questions. I'm going to go Kwame.
No questions, thank you.
Michael.
Couple things there. So it's just going to be around the side of the house, correct? Because there was no stakes on the property, even though it seemed pretty straightforward.
Yeah, did you go to the,
Yeah, I was there maybe a couple days ago. It's just on the
It's-
side of the house and then the backyard.
well, front yard, yeah, the side of the house and then the front
Like the
door.
street facing.
The street facing side.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
I-
why I called it back. I'm sorry.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Right, that's all I had then. I'm sorry. The other question I had, I'm sorry, was has work begun on it yet? Because I did notice a couple shovels on the
Yeah,
side.
I already did dig all the rocks out before I realized that I needed to, I didn't know the extent of it yet.
I'm Casey Pickett, or Casey DeCesar. Yeah, there was existing stone all there. Like in the front, when you first pull in, there's like stone on either side of the driveway. That went all the way around the house. So we didn't know. We dug it all up already.
All right, that's all I had then. Thank you.
Autumn,
No questions, thank you.
Paula Jean.
I'm just verifying that I was there, I saw it. So you're gonna do on the side with the outdoor shower, all the crushed, the blue stone and the crushed?
The outdoor shower side is staying, everything,
Okay,
so
so
only
the-
what was there,
Yeah.
what you saw dug up already.
Just the
is-
front, it looks like it was not even dug the dirt.
It wasn't, it was just
the
the
loose
stone.
stuff
I
was
just scraped it
raked
off.
off. It wasn't even dug out yet.
Exactly.
Okay, so just that
And
side.
everything else is staying, the side where the shower is staying.
Okay,
Even where I had the rock, where they're further down,
yeah,
that's staying, where the walkway is staying.
okay, and then out front near the hydrant, that's staying, you're leaving that?
That's all staying,
Okay,
correct.
all right,
Yep.
thank you very much.
Scott.
No questions. Thank you.
No question.
Jessica. Christine, any comments?
No comment.
What will you do, with the material you're removing? Will
The-
someone take the stone away, or will you just be putting dirt on top of it?
On top of the stone, well, the stone's already gone, so I did bring it to
Well, the gravel.
just be putting dirt on top of it, yes.
Okay, so you'll be laying down
It's
loam
loam,
and-
correct.
and seed or
Correct.
sod or something like that.
Correct, yeah.
Anybody in the online or in the audience to comment on this project? And no, I see no one here. All right,
I motion to close the hearing.
I have a motion
Second.
to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 600. The hearing is closed. Christine, your recommendation?
-3, -6, since there was work done without the permit, there has to be a fine. Sorry, it's a $200 fine.
A $200 fine, because it would have been permitted if we had known about it.
Yeah, it would have been permitted.
Okay,
So moved.
Second.
that's the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion and second, all in favor? Aye, 600. Get your paperwork from Christine before you do much more.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
I just talk to you.
Tomorrow should be all good.
Just give you a call.
Next one, please. Oh, sorry, the next one. We'll open it, they want a continuance.
Okay.
Just the
On the
13th.
request for determination of applicability for Continental Marina Corp., 3236 Cranberry Highway, Buzzards Bay, Massachusetts, 02532. Construction of a pavilion over the existing deck, map 6, lot 6, 3236 Cranberry Highway, Buzzards Bay, Wareham, Mass. I motion to open the hearing.
I have a motion to open the hearing,
Second.
and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Aye, I thought they wanted a continuance.
Safe Harbor wanted a continuance, not Continental Marina.
Oh, this is Captain Al's.
Captain Al's, yes.
Sorry, Captain Al's.
Thank you.
I think, please identify yourself.
Yes, Bill Lockwood, Lockwood Architects, representing Captain Al's Continental Marina.
All right, talk to us what you want to do that you haven't already done.
Well, we have not done anything at this point.
You got 2 poles there,
To what?
2 poles.
Well, if they do, I'm not aware of it. They haven't driven any
Oh,
poles.
yeah. Want to see picture?
Okay. I haven't been over there today.
Those were placed there in preparation of putting up the second floor. Well,
These piles are different.
no, these ones. Yeah. I was told that that was done in order to put the pavilion, the second floor up over the existing deck.
I apologize, I was not aware.
Okay. They couldn't do the other side because they were still using anyway. Okay, but that's what I was told when I was there.
There is
Oh,
no
talk,
First of all, there is no second floor.
a pavilion, they want to put it, they want to, you talk to me about the project, I'll shut up.
Well, you seem to know more about it than I do at this point, so I sit corrected here. The project is to put a pavilion which will replace the fabric canopy that is there now. It'll involve the driving of 4 timber piles and then a metal roof structure on top of that, and that is the extent of the project. Apparently, they have already done some of it.
Okay, questions? I'll start with Kwame.
Everybody loves Captain Al's.
Unless you're listening to the loud music across the pond, but river, but, okay.
I have no questions.
Michael?
Yes, on drawing C1, it seems to be cut off at the bottom right, so there seems to be some portions that are like cut off. So for example, it says like, I assume EX is existing, like EX boulders and then, but it doesn't say anything else. Or, for example,
Which one are you, no, you're looking at the wrong one.
no, this is Captain Al's.
Yeah, but that could be that's an old plan. We did that a year and a half ago.
Yes.
That's the pylons to do the, that's not this project.
That's not this project. Basically, we took,
Because it was with the, it was with the
Yeah,
plan.
but look at the date of it.
tried to identify what we had done here, which we basically took the,
That's certainly not, he's looking at something that has to do with boulders and stuff, and that was done,
Yep.
It's 4/10/2025. It's not, can't be that old, unless it's,
the drawing you're looking at is a GAF drawing, which we took with their permission and added our canopy on top of.
no, it's not. It's definitely done to do with all of the seawall restoration.
Well, all that information is there, but the only information we're concerned about here is the canopy itself, which is the hatched area adjacent to the existing building.
I want to see the top.
In the upper left-hand corner is really all we're interested in.
That's that's where it's going on, that section right there.
so I just want to make sure, like, just like there's like no important information, like
No,
down here,
that's all been done.
all.
That's all been done,
All right.
because you've gone out there, you've seen the pylons, the sheets that have been put into the sand, and that was done and approved a while ago.
Yeah, this property.
Yeah,
does have
there is an order of conditions
There is
on
an
that.
actual, yeah, it's activity right now. So this is just to put in four pylons, a metal roof, and make it a more substantial, no more tent.
Yep.
All right. And I guess the other question I have would be, what would be the plan for the runoff for the roof?
We'll put it down through gutters and downspouts and let it drain.
All right, that's all I have, Madam Chair, thanks.
Autumn,
No questions, thank you.
Paula Jean.
So I was there yesterday in the rain, and there was tons of activity going on. It was a lot of work. And then I remembered, of course, I was there for the prior project, and it was kind of hard to see. It was confusing. There was a machine, there were workers, it was pouring rain. But I did notice, I walked the length of the pier, and I don't know if this is applicable to this project, but I know that there had been a lot of debris, broken cinder blocks and junk, when we looked at the property for the prior project, and it was supposed to be cleaned up and removed, and there it was, cinder blocks, broken cinder blocks and things, and that kind of made me think, what's going on? So what's going on?
That belongs to the other project.
But it's the same owner, and it's the same.
It is the same owner, and
Just indicated to me, how much, where you guys are at. Should that be removed before
well, I would think that
proceeding, or-
should be, any excess debris should be removed and as part of the bulkhead project.
Or would that not have been removed first before the
Well-
other work went on?
Who knows what their plan was, but
But it doesn't look like it's...
there's no question
Yeah.
it has to be done before we give them a
I would say, yeah.
certification.
Right.
Before you issue a final certificate on it,
Yep.
So that was the first thing that
site
hit
needs to
me
be
when I
cleaned up, for sure.
Okay,
No argument. No
thank
dis-
you.
Scott,
No questions, thank you.
Jessica,
No questions.
Christine.
No questions.
All right. To me, work was done ahead of time without approval. That's based on what I saw and what I was told by a woman who showed me where this work was going to be done, so Is there anybody online or in the audience to comment on this? No. Okay,
I motion to close the hearing.
I have a motion to close
Second.
the hearing and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained. The hearing is closed. Christine, your recommendation.
-3, -6 with a $200 fine for work being started before getting the permit.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 600. Please see Christine before you put in 2 more piles.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And pay the fine before we...
Is 200 even with a commercial owner?
The fines didn't indicate one way or the other, just work done without approval that would have been approved. Our fines do not identify commercial and non-commercial.
Okay.
Next one, please.
Thank you all.
On the request for determination of applicability for Palmer Property Management LLC, 53 Palmer Street, Fall River, Massachusetts, 02724. The project consists of installing approximately 230 feet of 2-inch water main. Approximately 50 feet of installation will occur within the 100-foot buffer zone to a bordering vegetated wetland and land subject to coastal storm flowage. Map 56, Brown Street and Old Beaver Dam Road, Wareham, Massachusetts. I motion to open the hearing.
I have a motion to open the
Second.
hearing, and I heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. The hearing is open. Please identify yourself as representing this project.
Good evening, Brian Grady with GAF Engineering.
Okay,
What the project consists of is, as read in the notice, installing a water main to service 2 properties, one of them being 18 Brown Street, and the other one a vacant lot further down on Old Beaver Dam Road. This work is occurring at the intersection of Old Beaver Dam Road and Brown Street. There's a bordering wetland on an adjacent piece of land. We'll be working within the buffer zone to that, but all the work will be on public roads, paved roads. So there'll be a standard of care on the public road to keep a safe and clean work site. So work will be performed, backfilled at the end of the day, the site cleaned. So we feel there's very little possibility of any impacts to the adjacent wetlands. So that's the purpose of this being filed as an RDA rather than an NOI. Projects should occur quickly and safely and cleanly.
were these the red marks on the road?
Well, the white marks would be for dig safe. Red marks probably would be from the white marks would be to indicate the dig safe where the activity is occurring. The other paint marks would be marks by the utilities, sewer, water, Comcast, such, marking out utilities.
It would be hard to stake in the middle of a road. Okay, Kwame, questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Michael,
Same here, no questions, thank you.
Autumn,
No questions, thank you.
Paula Jean,
No questions, thank you.
Scott,
No questions, thank you.
Jessica.
None?
Anybody online or in the audience, questions on this project? Christine, your comments?
No question, no comments.
Okay,
Do you have questions or comments? I motion to close the hearing.
I have a motion to close the hearing. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstains. The hearing is closed. Christine, your recommendation,
-2, -6.
2 and 6.
So moved.
I have a
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, we're 600. You got the project. Thank you very much, and get your paperwork before the water department starts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next one, please.
On the request for notice of intent for Jason Haywood, 14785 Preston Road, Suite 795, Dallas, Texas. The proposed redevelopment of an existing full-service marina property, including the demolition and replacement with new construction of both the existing shipbuilding/repair facility and marine building. The applicant is also proposing new parking areas, improved stormwater management systems, associated grading, landscaping, and site improvements. Map 3-A2-15-A, Lot 3-A2-15-A, 3 Green Street, Wareham, Massachusetts. I motion to open the hearing.
I have a motion to open. I heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. We have had a request from Safe Harbor to continue this until June 4th.
I motion to continue until June 4th.
Second.
June 4th? June 4th. I have a motion and a second to continue in June 4th. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained. We're continued until June 4th, and I apologize for not putting that out earlier in the meeting. I should have done that in case there was anybody here waiting for it. All right, now, next one, please.
On the request for notice of intent for Aaron E. and Michael G. Schaff, 73 Bryant Street, West Bridgewater, Massachusetts. The applicant is proposing to remove approximately 55 feet of existing pier and associated wood piles and PVC pipe supports. This work will occur within land under the ocean, salt marsh, and land subject to coastal storm flowage. Map 4, Lot LC21, 6 Valley Road, Buzzards Bay, Massachusetts. A motion to open the hearing.
Motion to open the hearing.
Second.
I heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained. The hearing is open. Please identify yourself representing this project.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair. It's Attorney Jillian Morton representing the homeowners.
Brian Grady, GAF Engineering.
And I'd love to start with having, this property should be familiar to you, Valley Road, but having Brian go through the submission, the particulars of what we're proposing, and if there's specific questions in regards to jurisdiction, asking about, you know, if we're able to do this or not, or needing any backup, I'm happy to answer.
Thank you.
Sure.
For the board, this was before us, May 15th, 24, and we closed the hearing on July of 2024, in case some of you remember this. Okay, up to you.
Yeah, I was here before an enforcement order was issued, so we're here following up on that with a plan and a narrative and an application to remove approximately 55 feet of the pier. The pier that occupies portion on the Shaft property, and there's a section that goes out into Commonwealth of Mass land below mean high water. So if you've read my narrative, what we're calling for, Mr. Schaff will be removing this himself through manual labor. There'll be no equipment used for any of this. We call for plywood to be put down across the marsh during the active period where there'll be removal activities occurring, and that'll be removed at the end of each day or at the end of each period of activity. The work will be scheduled around the tide cycles. So what will happen is the deck boards are screwed down and the stringers are attached with bolts. So the deck boards will be unscrewed, the stringers will be unbolted. There'll be very little need for sawing, creating sawdust. There are old PVC support pipes, which are also there. Those are kind of a U-shaped pipe. So what'll happen is the center will be cut and they'll be twisted out and removed. So there'll be a little bit of PVC shavings. Anytime there's any cutting that'll need to occur, there'll be a small bucket or a tarp put below those to collect those shavings. Once the deck boards are removed and the stringers are removed, the pilings, they're 4x4. I imagine they'll be easy enough to just kind of wiggle out and to pull out. So that's the plan there. Same thing for the PVC pipes. They'll be cut, twisted, and removed. Any organics that may be in the PVC pipe, we call for them to be kind of beat out and dropped back into the hole. If there are any remaining void spaces pulling out the 4x4 wood posts, we call for them to be filled with just a clean sand. So that's the project, and everything will be removed to the landward location and eventually removed off-site and properly disposed of, whether they get a dumpster or how they choose to do that, but it'll all be removed off-site. And that's a brief description of the project, and if we could just respond to any questions.
I'm going to ask the question, what will happen to the existing pier that is between the land and the beginning of this removal?
On the adjacent property?
Yes. Will there be something done so that someone doesn't fall off the edge of the pier now that the pier is being removed?
Yes, in the narrative, the pier does have railings. We call for a piece to be
Okay,
put
thank you.
across at the end of the pier when that cut is made, yes.
Thank you. Jessica,
Can you come back to me, please?
Kwame,
I have no questions, thank you.
Michael.
Just one question. There happens to be no eelgrass underneath the sections of the pier, by any chance, is there?
No, it's marsh. And one thing I didn't mention is, for those of you who were there, there's an old row of stones and some small pieces of rotten wood. We're calling for the stones to remain because it looks like they're protecting the marsh. I did meet Christine on site. We did have a little bit of discussion regarding that, about those row of stones remaining, because as I said, they do appear to be protecting the marsh.
That's all I had, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Autumn.
No questions, thank you.
Paula Jean.
No questions, thank you.
Scott.
No questions, thank you.
Jessica.
Can you remind me who owns which property? So is the petitioner the one who's removing, is that where the pier attaches to the land? No, the people who are adjacent, they own, coming from their house, it encroaches onto our land. Yep. And this was the one that we had done, the title, to show you there was nothing, I gave a legal opinion on that. And I also wanted to make sure too, as far as environmental regulations, you guys do have the authority locally under the Wetlands Protection Act and Chapter 91. If you remember, they don't have a 91 actual license for that dock. So is there agreement among the parties, or is this is in lieu of an agreement? Yep. After that, after the hearing, we tried to discuss, but at this point, we're in violation pursuant to the enforcement action by you, so we're just trying to make it right under the conservation, but we do not have a separate agreement. So is this would be removing something that someone else installed that's attached to their property? Correct. And how would the removal happen without trespassing on their property? We would be on our property, but removing, like, so it's considered, in our opinion, a trespass, the actual dock. But like on their land, is that what you're saying? How do you get the materials back off the water if you can't go back up the rest of the pier and across their land? I see.
No, the access would be across the salt marsh, which is owned by the chef, so there'd be...
Okay, so it's not like you're you're saying, okay, we're cutting it off here and we're removing these materials by walking them back up the pier and across the land. Yeah, definitely not.
Well, some of the work can occur on the pier. As he's removing the deck boards, he can work his way back on his portion of the pier or Commonwealth of Mass portion of the pier. But should be no reason to have to trespass on an adjacent property to accomplish any of this work.
And there's no ability to get agreement among the parties? No, it's pretty contentious.
If anybody wants, it's the July 3rd, 24 set of minutes that talked about what was said and done at the last time we had a hearing on this one, and verified that there was never a Chapter 91 for the pier for the previous owner, not the current owner, the previous owner of that property. Christine, your comments?
The only comment I had is just about what sort of protections you're going to be doing for that salt marsh, since you're going to be going over it so often.
Well, that's the placing of the pieces of plywood just during the portions of the activity, walking back and forth. Because, yes, walking back and forth across an unprotected marsh would create mud and ruts. So I think during the maybe 4-hour window of activity during a day, during the appropriate tide cycle, placing plywood and then removing it at the end of that activity, getting it ready for the next day.
Do we have the authority? We have the authority to, you guys are the petitioner, right? And even if it is on your property, can you petition to have somebody else, is it like a fixture, or what is it considered? Yep, so, fixture as a trespass, but you have authority under the regulatory of the Wetland Protection Act, actually the regulations 310 CMR 10, any structure built on a wetland within a buffer zone without an approved order of conditions from the Conservation Commission is subject to removal or restoration. So that is a power that you are bestowed under the Wetland Protections Act, also Chapter 91, and then also they've recently ordered that local regulatory oversight. Like there was a commission in Barnstable who was able to do the same thing. So I mean, I've researched that you do have the authority because you're following the statute. As far as if there's other things that happen civilly, you're not liable for that.
And Chapter 91 specifically states that if there's structure or fill that is unlicensed, unpermitted, it either needs to get licensed or be removed.
Any other comments or questions from the board, commissions? Anybody in the audience, online? So somewhere down the line, if this has to be removed because it's not permitted, we should be getting something from that homeowner with the dock that's remaining to the land to get it removed? Should we be pursuing that?
Yeah, more than likely.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is that work 2 hours plus or minus low tide. Everything will be done by hand.
Correct.
Okay. So I see nobody to talk to with this or comment on this, so we can close the hearing, please.
I motion to close the hearing.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I opposed, abstained. The hearing is closed. Christine, your recommendations for the order of conditions.
Standard order of conditions with the time frame of plus or minus 2 hours, and the work to be done by hand, along with that plywood to be used for protecting the marsh.
So moved.
Second.
I mean, I'm still writing. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Should we have any discussion? I mean, is there an opportunity?
I think
for
I
any-
asked, is there anybody, any other comments from the board? I
I'm
asked
sorry, I
that.
didn't hear you say that.
I did. I asked that before I asked for a closing of the hearing.
Okay.
We've closed the hearing. Did you have something?
I don't have a point, I have questions, you know, I'm concerned a little bit about removing something when the person who, even if it's on the wrong property, I'm just concerned about removing something where, are they gonna come back? Is there gonna be civil litigation around it? Are we acting outside of what we can do?
And I think Julian
I
has
can't
spoken.
speak to it because you closed the hearing, so.
I know, but you have spoken to that while the hearing was open. And I did ask if there was any other comments.
It's okay, that's all right.
Because I know that was your request at the last meeting, that I ask one more time.
I'm sorry.
So, we heard the order of conditions, 2 hours plus or minus low tide, work by hand, plywood on marsh. Anything else, Christine?
No.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I opposed, abstain. Hearing is closed, it's approved, and don't do anything until you get some documents from Christine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, please.
On the request for notice of intent for Lindsay McNeil Morse, P.O. Box 377, East Wareham, Mass. Revegetate existing footprint of eroded center path with a combination of coir logs, native shrubs, and beach grass, as well as 19.26 cubic yards of beach nourishment. Map 120, Lot 1003, 33 Wareham Lakeshore Drive, East Wareham, Massachusetts. I motion to open the hearing.
I have a motion, and I heard a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstain. The hearing is open. Please identify yourself.
Lindsay McNeil Morse. I'm the president of Wareham Lake Shores Improvement Association.
Okay, talk to us about the project, please.
The association is looking to preserve the one of the beach properties. There's been significant erosion over however many years, but we're just hoping to preserve the property with native plants. We have closed off it was a footpath before. We have 2 other access points for the beach, so there is really no need for the footpath in the center. So we're just hoping to plant vegetation.
That's why there's a fence at the top of the hill, so they no longer go down the path they used to
Correct.
use. Okay. Anything else? I'll start the questions with Jessica.
Oh, just one comment interjected first. This project does not have a DEP file number just yet.
Okay. And you are representing the landowner being the Wareham Lake Shore Improvement Association? Okay. Jessica?
No questions.
Scott?
I was out there today, looking around, and there's serious erosion issues. Are you doing this on your own as an association, or do you have engineering help on this?
We're just doing it ourselves.
Okay, well, I wonder about getting some help on that, because it is such a difficult situation, and I just worry that if it's not done correctly, you'll be back here in a couple of years looking for doing it again.
I'm not even sure the span of time, there have been conservation filings, not notice of intent. They've tried to maintain over years and years, but it just keeps eroding. There are existing timbers there, but everything has washed off to the side. And everything surrounding the beach, whatever is in place, there's vegetation there. So we're just hoping that if we can stabilize the ground, it will not run off as much.
This is why I'm suggesting some engineering help, because it is a difficult, I know where your sand is. You know where it is too, right? It's in the pond.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm just wondering if it wouldn't be worth working with an engineer to make sure that the plan is a viable one. It's done in the right order, the right materials are done, the contouring is engineered so that you're taking the energy out of the water coming down the hill and so on. It's difficult to do without a technical background in that area.
Okay.
I don't think there was a question. Oh, yeah, there was a question. Yeah, did you get some engineering help? Yeah.
We don't have engineering help
Okay.
at this point in time.
A lot of that is... wait a minute, I'll ask you to come up in a minute. Okay. Paula Jean.
No questions, thank you.
Autumn.
No questions, thank you.
Michael.
Scott kind of beat me already to it with the coordination as far as that goes. So, but I'm going to ask here just 2 questions then. So I assume that fence will be removed once the log steps are put in?
Eventually,
All right.
if we're allowed to plant the vegetation, we'd like it to, I don't know what the word is.
Take hold.
Thank you.
Okay. And I guess the other question is, I guess more of an environmental issue is, do you know what kind of shrubs are going to be put in place?
We'd like to do high bush blueberries, bearberry, and beach grass.
Right. Okay. That's all I had, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Kwame.
I think I agree with Scott that I think engineering plan would probably be helpful.
Or an engineering review.
Or engineering, at least an engineering review. Because you're gonna that's gonna be dumping your money every couple of years. You're just gonna be spending too much.
That's what's been done over the course of 25 years, I think. They've
Right.
gone back and forth.
So it has to be some kind of stabilization, something.
Right. I'm not positive on the year it was done. They did have an engineer come out and give an estimate. They never went through with the plans because the funding, we're a small association, and financially it just wasn't feasible because it was a lot of money, so. Everything up until this point has been Band-Aid.
Christine, any comments?
No, we've already spoken about this in person, so.
Anybody online or in the audience would like to come forward and comment, please?
You answered my questions.
Okay. Okay. Nobody online, nobody else, no
Will we be
comments?
continuing this?
We will be continuing because we do not have a DEP.
Do we think that May 21st?
I would
is enough time?
definitely go with next meeting.
Yeah, they should have it done. I'm honestly surprised that they didn't have one in by now.
Okay, thank you. I motion to continue until May 21st.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. We'll continue waiting for a DEP filing.
Can I request a 5-minute recess?
20.
Yes,
Thank you.
please
No, I'm just joking.
hold the recording, please. Yes.
Thank you.
I should have looked at 8 o'clock saying it's time.
Where is Josh? Is he not
Welcome back. Are we ready?
I'm happy.
Okay. We have a continued hearings. 9 15th Street, anybody here for that project?
For that project, they've decided they don't want to do it, and I'll be working with them to help take
Clear
down
out, because there is a lot of
Yeah.
debris and work started.
Yes.
So they're formally saying, do not continue. So we,
15th Street?
Yeah.
Is that the one? Oh, I
9
went there today.
15th Street, huh?
I went there this morning, okay.
So you saw the work they
It's
started?
the same bag of trash is
Yes,
sitting there.
nothing's been done.
Old, the picnic
Nothing.
table.
So how are they going to go up and down the slope?
Jump.
Erode? Yeah, okay. So they withdrew.
Is there a formal letter that's entered into the record for withdrawal?
I haven't gotten a formal letter.
Continue it on the calendar until we have a formal letter. Thank you. So make a motion to continue this until May 21,
So moved.
Second.
waiting for a formal letter of withdrawal. Thank you, Scott. Next one was 24 Parker Drive. Reposal. Anybody here for that one?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Why did we continue it?
Nobody was here at the last meeting.
Ah. So all right, who's here now to talk to us about the project?
Hi, good evening. This is Titus Raposa. I'm the owner.
Okay. Talk to us about what you like to do.
I want to install a 10 by 12 shed on the right side of my garage.
And it was staked, so
Yes.
how will you, I will ask the questions, I'll go around. Jessica?
And no questions.
Scott?
No questions, thank you.
Paula Jean?
No questions, thank you.
Autumn?
No questions, thank you.
Michael?
No questions, thank you.
Kwame?
None at this time, thank you.
How will you secure the shed to the ground?
I'm just going to build it on the ground, off the ground.
So you'll be putting down concrete pads? You're not putting
Yeah,
any
yes.
sonotubes or anything like that?
No sonotubes. Just like those concrete footings, I guess. It's not in ground. It's just going to be above ground.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm having someone else build it.
You won't be digging any holes, you'll just be
Nope.
plating your concrete blocks on the ground. Christine, any comments?
No
Correct.
comments.
Anybody online in the audience regarding this? Okay,
I motion to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Christine, your recommendations?
-2, -6.
So moved.
At that motion, I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 600. Titus, you have the project. Reach out to Christine to get your paperwork before you start the work, okay?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Good evening. All right, next hearing. Why do we 28 Nelson Street, was we continuing this?
They were continued to the 21st.
They would, okay, so this goes until 5/21. That's already continued. 341 Onset Ave. Anybody here for, finally. She says, finally. All right. Please identify yourself.
I'm Charlotte Brusso.
Okay, Charlotte, why we're here, we had no DEP for this?
We do, we have a case and a file number now.
Yay, right?
Yep.
Is there any other, does anybody have any other questions regarding this project? We heard it last meeting. We want to talk about the trees you have, removing trees, right?
Right.
Anybody have any questions? I'll start with Jessica.
None.
Scott.
No questions, thank you.
Paula Jean.
I just wondered, are you going to be replacing any of these trees with?
We have a lot of saplings that are already coming up next to where these trees are being taken down. We're trying to be good, what's the word? Good stewards of the grounds. We've talked to 4 arborists about this.
Okay.
They want us to be on a program to do this because the trees are being more and more, we're losing more and more trees because they're diseased. So they want us to be on a program to trim these and.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Autumn.
No questions, thank you.
Michael.
No questions, thank you.
Kwame.
No questions, thank you.
Charlotte. Sorry. Christine, your comments, please.
No comments.
Don't ask me where Charlotte, that's where Charlotte came from. Anybody comment online or in the audience? I'm losing the audience. Anything else?
No.
I motion to close the hearing.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to close the hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained. Christine, your recommendation.
Standard order of conditions.
So moved.
I have that motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. You got your approval. See Christine before you start the cutting. Okay? Thank you for hanging in there. All right, next one is 32 Tyler Ave. Please identify yourself.
Hello, Bill Bayshant.
Okay. Okay, let them in. All right.
Evening.
why
Will
were we
Connolly with
continued?
Zenith Consulting Engineers.
This one also did, oh no, why did we?
You asked for some things to be
Oh,
put on the plan, and we
revisions.
put them on the plan.
Yeah.
So we have a new plan?
There are revised plans right here. They're just reflecting the revisions that you spoke of at the last meeting.
Are you comfortable that they do?
Yes?
Because normally we'd like to see the plans a couple days before our meeting, but Christine says,
In this case, you guys asked for these revisions at the last meeting, so he was just putting those on, so they're
okay,
just
and you're
exactly what you
comfortable
asked
they've
for.
been included?
I'm comfortable.
All right, comment from the, online? No? So anybody that comments?
He's all set.
We're all set?
We did everything we wanted.
Were you gonna remove the, trailer and the boat and all that other stuff that goes with it?
Oh, yeah, sailing to Tahiti on that boat. We'll get it out of there.
That's quite, I'm sorry to see the big trees go down, but that is what it is. All right, any other comments on the board?
I just have one question.
Yes?
So the plan says you're going to raise the structure that's,
There's a foundation still there, and the house is like collapsed into it.
yeah, I was there today. So was the house? So the house is basically raised,
For the most part, yeah,
except for the foundation.
except for the foundation.
So was that house pushed in, or is that just gravity, or?
It was a combination of both. I've been on Tyler Ave since 1984, so I watched it. It started to collapse and collapse and collapse, and then the people that did own it gave it a little help, but they never really cleaned it up or anything, so it just imploded into the foundation.
Okay. All right, that's all. Thank you.
Anything else? Any other comments on the board before? Christine,
Yeah.
you recommend, sorry,
I do have a couple of questions. So in our last meeting, we had requested that pervious pavers were added for the driveway, and I don't see that on the revised plan.
Yeah.
And we had also requested that there be the tree replacements, and I just want to make sure that we don't.
It's on the plan, and we're going to go with crushed stone for the driveway.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Your comments, Christine?
We had a list of conditions from the last meeting, so.
They're all, okay. All right, nothing other comments, so
I motion to close the hearing?
I have a motion to close the hearing.
Second.
And a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained. Christine, your recommendations?
Standard order of conditions with a $300 fine for all of the stuff in the wetland, removal of the debris, brush, and the boat and trailer out of the wetland, an infiltration system to catch the roof runoff, the split rail fence to be installed at the 30-foot no activity zone with the signs marking the wetlands, and a pervious driveway.
I'm going to ask you to do that one more time slower, so I can understand and the person taking the minutes can understand. You went so fast. I know it's almost 8:30, but please, slower.
Okay, so a $300 fine for storage in the wetland, removal of the debris, brush, and the boat and trailer out of the wetland, an infiltration system to catch the roof runoff, a split rail fence to be installed at the 30-foot no activity zone with signs marking the wetlands, and a pervious driveway.
Thank you.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Sorry, I talk a little fast.
I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're
Have a nice night.
done. Wow. Next one is 45 Wareham Lakeshore Drive.
Yes, so this one you had spoken about at the last meeting and had no other comments to make about it.
And all, we were just waiting for the DEP, and we now have a DEP.
We have a DEP file number.
And it went out asking if we had any more questions. I guess most people said they were comfortable with this, so that I guess we'll now close the hearing.
I motion to close the hearing.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained. The hearing is closed. Steen, your recommendation?
Standard order of conditions with pervious landings for the stairs.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, done deal. Next one is 47 Cleveland Way.
47 Cleveland Way was also one that you spoke to the applicant and the representative about at the last meeting, which we were also waiting for a file number on, and we do have one now.
All right. Anything else for anybody else? We've got our DEP. We've had our meeting and our discussions at the previous one.
I motion to close the hearing.
Thank
Second.
you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Your recommendation?
Standard order of conditions with erosion controls around where the new structures are being built.
So moved.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained. We're closed. It's done. Wow. We just got rid of a whole bunch of it. Unfortunately, it's still almost 8:30. All right, next one, please. We're down to certification of compliances.
Yes. So for SE 76984, recommended issuance of a certificate of compliance.
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, done.
And then for SE 762655, recommended issuance of a certificate of compliance.
So moved.
Have a motion
Second.
And a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 600. We're down to I think we're at a point now that, why did I have a note, next meeting, Maple Springs status? Oh, I want, if we could put on the next meeting agenda to talk about the Maple Spring project and what we got in the mail. Is that a good way to put it?
Yeah, we can do that.
I'd like to have an update where we stand with that request for superseding order.
Yes.
Okay. And so we are down to the point that we have an opening on our Conservation Commission for a full-time voting member. Whoop, 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 whoop. So, I will guess my question is, Scott, would you be willing to step up to be a full-time member, voting member? You better say yes.
You know, when I was in college, when we had elections in our house, we used to say, do you feel mentally competent to accept this position?
No, I won't say that because you're on sewer, so that's already in question.
As long as we're all together, okay. As long as we stay together as a group, I'm okay with it.
I think that's an okay. I would like to have a motion to recommend to the Select Board that Scott Sobey be appointed a full-time voting member of Conservation Commission.
So moved.
I have
Second.
that motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 600. I will put that paperwork to the Select Board as soon as possible.
Can that be done at the same time as they're going to appoint me to the Sewer Commission on the 20th?
I can't guarantee that.
They're all done at the same time?
Well, you don't have to come before them to be for this.
Okay,
Okay.
whatever.
We have anybody else?
There's only one more thing.
Oh, did I miss something?
They
Okay.
would just like to give power to the Director of Planning to be able to sign bills on the Commission's behalf.
Is he mentally competent to that responsibility?
Sometimes I wonder, but I believe so.
So it is on the agenda, the conservation agent being Christine or the director of planning being Josh to sign bills on our behalf.
What kind of bills?
It tends to be for MACC.
Usually, yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, there haven't been very many.
Okay.
Do you want to put a dollar limit?
I would like my money.
It hasn't come yet. I can't.
No,
I am so embarrassed.
I agree. I agree with giving power to the conservation agent or the director of planning to sign bills on
Okay,
the
that be
commission's
the
behalf.
motion.
Second.
And the second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? 600. Please, do you need a document from us to go to accounting to make this happen, or
Yes.
I will write an email
All right.
to Judy in accounting, telling her we've done that, and I'll write an email to the BOS for our recommendation for Scott. Is there anything else?
I have a question.
Yes.
If we're done with everything else. I was just remembering a while back, Josh was talking about getting some of a handbook from MACC for all of us, and that the funds were there from fines in some account, and we're gonna have access to that information to help us do a better job. And then, that was the last I ever heard of it, and I just remembered it this evening.
Oh, okay.
Remember that?
I am not quite sure on the status of that. I would have to go check tomorrow.
Only 'cause I get things from, emails from them, they're trying to sell me stuff like that.
Oh.
So, you know, but I thought, no, I think we're supposed to have that, actually.
All right.
I'll have to check on the status
Thanks.
of that, because I think
Anything else?
Yes.
Yes.
Happy Mother's Day to all the lovely Mother's Day. You know, all the mothers out there, we love you.
Okay.
Make a motion to close the meeting, please.
Adjourn.
Adjourn
So
the meeting.
moved.
8:30. I have that motion, and we have all in favor. I heard second. All in favor.
Aye.
Opposed. We're adjourned, and we have a Lot of papers to sign.
Oh, boy.
Mm.